What's up guys, today we're going over this new little void sidearm, the compact defender, which might just be the best weapon in Destiny 2 right now for a cool trick you can pull off on any character in any subclass. In this video we'll be going over how the heat weapons work, because this is only the first video using one of these weapons on my channel, going over the god roll on this, and finally why it might just be the best weapon in Renegades right now. So starting off with how these blaster heat type weapons work, I kind of really love them. So instead of having bullets per se, they are now energy based. As you shoot the weapon, instead of depleting bullets, you build up energy, heat, and once you get to 100 you'll have to vent, aka reload the weapon, but you can actually vent whenever you want to remove the heat, and then cancel the venting whenever you want to continue to shoot. The only time you're forced to do like a full reload is if you overheat the weapon at 100%. So these are a very fluid type of weapon where you can kind of reload whenever you want. Or you can treat it like auto-loading or reconstruction and never reload if you want to. You can stow the weapon and it will reduce the heat over time. And you can pull it out and it'll be ready to shoot again. There's always been weapons in the game that I'm like, I just wish this had auto-loading on it. And in a way, all the blasters have it. So overall, I just really love these frames. So in this frame, there's going to be 3 new keywords that you need to know. First, vent speed, which is reload. Heat generated, which in a way is just mag size. And then finally, cooling efficiency, which will be how quick that auto reloading occurs. And you can control these 3 different stats through a lot of the batteries, which are just kind of like the magazines, and a lot of the mods on the weapons. So for example, if we go with low heat generated, with a heat mod, the lower your heat generated basically just means the higher the magazine size, and now we can shoot off way more before we have to vent the weapon. Or we could go the route of high heat generated but quicker vent speed, which means we'll have a smaller magazine but faster reload. And depending on the perks you're using or what weapon it is, you might want one over the other. So jumping into this sidearm and looking at the best perks on it, starting off with the left column. First, with a new one for the blaster frames, the cooling baubles, which is when you collect an orb or elemental pickup, it will reduce the heat on the weapon. And with enhanced, it will reduce 45 heat instantly when you pick up an orb or elemental pickup, which is just another way to avoid reloading on these weapons. Another perk on the left you could use is proximity power, which is when you're surrounded and get final blows, you'll get a stacking buff to your melee stat to ×3, which is going to be roughly 45 melee stat. So for melee builds trying to get up to 200, that could be pretty good, but obviously the most important best perk on the left is going to be destabilizing rounds, just to get volatile going on the weapon. One of the best accurate perks in the game, and it's going to be really important for the god roll that allows this thing to be one of the best weapons in the game. So what can we pair that with in the right? Well, first off, there's going to be a lot of damage perks on this weapon. One that is really interesting for the blaster frames is going to be kill clip, with the fact that we can vent and reload whenever we want and cancel the vent whenever we want. Just starting to vent the weapon will proc kill clip, and with the way this perk now refreshes over itself, you can just practically always have kill clip up, just constantly vent the weapon after shooting a few bullets. But this is only going to be 25% buff, so even though it is really good on these frames, I'm probably still not going to be using it. I'd rather use something like Desperate Measures with ability builds, which will be 30%. Or more importantly, I think the best damage perk will be Frenzy. It's only going to be 15%, but it's also going to be vent speed. And when we pair that with Destab obviously has no reload to it. It's all about AoE accurate. So getting the reload speed of Frenzy is going to be pretty nice. You also have Swashbuckler that you could pair with Proximity Power for melee builds. The only damage perk I would stay away from is the Precision Instrument. Obviously, with this being a full auto sidearm, you're probably not going to get that many stacks of Precision Instrument. And even if you do, it's only 25% damage. So not even a higher damage buff than, you know, Kill Clip, Swashbuckler, or Desperate Measures. But there is a new perk in the right, Thermal Atomization. And this says, while at high heat, this weapon deals increased damage and causes targets to explode when defeated. So as we shoot off the blaster, once we get above 50% heat, it will now start doing more damage and cause the enemies to explode. And the damage you actually do will increase as you go from 50 to 100% heat. And at 100%, it's going to be roughly 16% more damage. And all their final blows are going to be like a dragonfly type explosion. And with the way you can maintain your heat level by venting and canceling your venting whenever you want, you can stay above 50% at all times with this weapon and always have that perk procced. And now it's a question of, do you want low heat or high heat? And with high heat, you would get above 50% a lot faster. But once you're above 50%, you're going to have less bullets before you have to vent the weapon. Compared to having low heat, it's going to take longer to get above 50%. But once you're above 50%, you have way more room and more bullets so you can shoot before you have to start venting the weapon again. So that is a cool trick that you can really start to optimize as you use the weapon more and just constantly have that perk active. But the most important perk on this weapon for this DLC is going to be Repulsor Brace. Pairing that with D-Stab, once we apply Volatile to nearby targets and kill them, we'll get a Void Overshield for 10 seconds, and it's going to be a full Void Overshield. And why that is so important and why this might be the best weapon in the entire game is because of the artifact this season. First, we have Singularity Blade. When we have a Void elemental buff, for example, the Void Overshield, our melee and sword hits will weaken, and our final blows will create a weakening burst. Then we have Power from Pain. When we get 3 rapid fire blows on weakened targets, we will get Devour. And we can also run Void Infestation, another way to help spread the weakening effects. And so now what we can do is just get 2 final blows with the Sidearm. First one to proc Volatile, second one to get the Void Overshield from Repulsor. And then simply just get 3 hits with a sword or melee to weaken 3 targets, kill them, and you will get Devour on any character in any subclass in the entire game. And we all know how strong Devour is with the full health on every final blow and the increase to your grenade uptime. And there's so many ways you can proc this effect. You can sword block with the lightsaber, which is pretty good to maintain the Void Overshield and make sure you get the 3 kills to proc Devour. If you're playing hard content, your Void Overshield might get ripped off pretty quickly, and that is going to be a way to make sure it doesn't go away. But really, any melee build in the game, you just proc the Void Overshield, use your melee, and you will get Devour. So Arc Hunter works, Consecration Titan works really, really well, probably the easiest. Then you can have both of the versions of the Throwing Hammer build, the one with the Thor Hammer. You can use it with Worm God. And even if you're not using a melee build, just simply proccing the Void Overshield, then using like a wave frame sword and just hitting 3 targets with your heavy attack will get you Devour. Using the lightsaber with the blocking, as we mentioned, for harder content to make sure your Void Overshield doesn't get ripped off, just blocking and deflecting bullets will get you Devour. So the possibilities are truly endless. Any build, any character, any subclass, you can get Devour with this simple little sidearm. And obviously this isn't exclusive to the sidearm. Any Void weapon with D-Stab and Repulsor will work, but the sidearm is obviously new and easy to farm right now. And with it being a blaster frame, it is just really, really solid also. So yeah, you can make the case that this might be the most important, best weapon in Destiny 2 right now, just because of the fact that you can get Devour on any build in the game, and we all know how strong Devour is. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of silly things you can do with this combo. And the sidearm isn't just like a gimmick weapon only for this trick, it's just good, period. D-Stab in the left, and you compare that with damage perk either Frenzy or Desperate Measures, or even the new perk Thermal Atomization to get like Dragonflight and Volatile at the same time. It's just really good. So definitely farm this weapon if you haven't yet. It's absolutely killer this DLC, and even after this artifact is gone, it's still going to be a really good weapon. Anyways, that's going to be it for the video. Like usual, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.